A lot of people are bootlicking Galen Weston and the other major grocery chains saying that, they're not price gouging us, it's just a cost of doing business. But why don't we talk about market powers and the issues that we're facing here in Canada? In theory, in capitalism, when you have more competition, you have lower prices because they have to find different ways to compete. But in Canada, almost 90% of all groceries are owned by 5 companies: Loblaws, Metros, Sobeys, Costco, and Walmart. Even the name independent grocer has been trademarked by Galen Weston. That means that our grocer barons are oligarchs. And there's people out there being like, well, the obvious solution is to open up the free market and to allow for more competition. But how? It's extremely expensive to start up a grocery store, and even when you do, you get bought up by one of the bigger chains. This is where government intervention comes into play. If the government wants to avoid a late-stage capital endgame where everything is owned by a handful of companies like we're experiencing right now in the grocery market, we actually need government intervention either in the forms of price caps or the government creating its own alternative. In one of the most conservative provinces in Canada, Saskatchewan, the government runs a telco company. And because of that, they have lower telco rates than other provinces. Similarly, prior to privatization by conservative governments, we used to have a government-owned airliner, a government-owned gas company. And the benefit of having these government-run businesses is that if they are successful and profitable, we can do a few things with that. So like right off the bat, they can just run at a net neutral revenue. Lower prices to the point where there is no profit. They could give out rebate checks to every single citizen regardless of what company they use. They could use the profit to reinvest into infrastructure, or into healthcare, or into education. And for this to be successful, we don't need one of these government-run grocery stores in every town and city. We just need a handful of them, just enough, especially in higher density areas, that it encourages and essentially forces the other players to keep their prices in line. Because that is how free market capitalism is supposed to work. Competition creating lower prices. The problem is that when you only have 5 companies and they collude with each other, like, fixing the price of bread, well, you can't really get those lower prices. Instead, you get a bag of carrots that was grown in Ontario being sold in Mississippi for 86 cents, and in Canada, it's sold for $3 to $5 depending on where you live. And listen, I know it's not that simple. I know it's more complicated than that, but this is just a primer. So let's talk about it. Leave some comments down below.